Well, welcome back to Open to Truth, a podcast all about exploring big ideas and discovering truth together. My name's Clint.
Hey, I'm Tony. Welcome back.
Just a bit of housekeeping at the beginning. We have a blog that's every week if you like to read about ideas too. A little bit of a teaser for each episode in writing form. You can subscribe to that at opentotruth.com/blog. Whole bunch of topics.
That's great. Good little insightful, thoughtful truth nuggets delivered right to your inbox. Once a week, right? We don't spam people.
No, once a week.
Once a week.
And also we have a YouTube channel where we'll post clips of episodes. So maybe if you're driving the car and some of these are too long, you could just go over to YouTube and watch them in clip form.
Yeah.
Little 15, 10-minute increments.
Or if there's, those things tend to be a little more shareable than full episodes. If you're
Right.
asking a friend to check out some ideas, hey, go watch this hour-long video.
Right. Oh,
Okay.
a little bit tough.
Yeah.
Well, today I really want to talk with Tony about the topic of music and beauty and maybe some of the philosophical underpinnings of that.
Now, you said that like I'm some expert on beauty and music.
I do think of you that way. Ever since I've known you, you have been a music man, a musician, an artist, if you will.
I will.
You've really given your life in a lot of ways to the pursuit of crafting beautiful pieces of art
That's interesting.
in the realm of sound, right?
Yeah, I would
Not
say...
only your job, but
Yeah.
your passion, your hobbies as well.
I would say it's something I've discovered about myself is that for me to have it is important for the health of my soul to have an ongoing relationship with creativity and beauty. And so that's not, for me, it's not just music. That's what has inspired me to be interested in the realm of video and film and cinematography and that as well. Even photography. I feel most alive when I am making something beautiful or I'm capturing something beautiful to share it with somebody else.
But you don't want to create it with your hands like a sculpture or a painting.
I guess that's true. I sit here. I would love to be able to draw well and paint well. I've always envied people who can, but I've never put in the hours to do it. But yeah, I would say I experience glimpses of the same kind of thing when I'm doing a house project and it comes out well and it actually looks good.
Right.
Or I'm making something beautiful that wasn't. I'm restoring something. That lights up the same kind of thing in me, but I haven't had as much of a knack for that as I have for music. It's come a little more naturally.
So tell us a little bit about your journey with music.
Jesus,
So right now you're a published artist.
Okay. I'm one of millions of artists who are releasing stuff on Spotify and wherever
Tony
else.
Robert Allen is your handle.
It's my name.
No.
It's my actual name. But it's not my handle. It's my birth name, Tony Robert Allen.
It's on your birth certificate.
Yeah. But yeah, you can find my music online if you search Tony Robert Allen. You want to know, what did you ask? My journey with music?
When did it start? And because it's
pretty
taken
young.
different forms and like band names and
Yeah, it's a bad band names, but I don't know, man. Music for me, I was always singing as a kid, like singing songs in the bath and around the house and whatever. So singing basically since I could, just random stuff, making stuff up, whatever, writing songs, whatever.
now a lot of us do that.
Yeah.
A lot of little kids sing.
Sure.
And I'm just at some point along the way, I'm sure they just encountered some displeasure from an audience member.
Please stop that.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
At some point, the audience dwindles or becomes frustrated. But for whatever reason, yours have continued. You were praised or encouraged, like, keep doing this.
I mean, I had moments where I was told to be quiet for sure, in the car or whatever. But yeah, when I was 10, my mum, it's a musical family I grew up in. So my mum played drums. My brother started playing drums because he thought that was cool. I thought he was cool, so I started playing drums. Then when I was 12, got interested in guitar and piano, which Dad play, so picked those up as well. If you are going to learn music and instruments, I do recommend that order. It worked pretty well for me to learn the basics of rhythm and timing and that sort of thing before I moved into melody and scales and all of that.
Wow.
Set me up really well. I recommend learning the instruments in that order. But started writing songs around then when I was like 12 and they were really trash. That's when I got my first copy of Fruity Loops, FL Studio. 2001, I think, or 2003.
I didn't know that's what it stood for. Oh, my
Fruity
goodness.
Loops, yeah. Well, that was back, they were kind of a laughing stock and they wanted eventually to become a little more credible. So they changed it to FL Studio.
Yeah.
So yeah, started writing and recording music then, figuring out music production. Absolute trash, of course. And then started band in 8th grade, little punk rock band. We wanted to be just like Reliant K and Good Charlotte and all those guys.
Yeah.
And we had a surprising amount of success for 13-year-olds. Like, I don't know if it was just a pity thing or a cute thing or whatever, but we like...
But you would win like battle of the bands and...
Yeah, against adults, which is... I would be mad if I was the 26-year-old adult and like a 13. I think it was probably pity, but either way, we got some radio time, recording time, whatever. So I just kept on writing through my teen years. I haven't really stopped, and there have been a few times that I've launched projects out into the wild, whether it's my brother and I did an acoustic thing back in 2013 called Amenable, and then I had music I was sort of sporadically releasing around 2014 under the Rescue verse. Please don't go listen to that. I can't stand to listen to it. Most of it's gone now, but anyway. But especially this past year, I decided to take my relationship with creativity more seriously as something that actually ought to be stewarded and not taken for granted. I'm the kind of person who, if I can get by doing the bare minimum, I will. That's how I was through school.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if I studied and tried, I could probably be an A+ student. But if I don't study and try, I can still get by and it's going to be fine. And I was that way
Because
with
no one's going to come along and force you to create an album.
Right.
People have come along, myself included, and have encouraged you to continue to create music.
Yeah.
But I can't force
You're
you.
gonna force me. And that's what's weird is you would expect that if it's a passion, why should it involve discipline at all? Why should it feel like work at all? If it's just your love, just do it when you feel like doing it, and then don't do it when you don't feel like doing it. And what that led to was like a lot of half-finished sketches of songs over the course of 10 years that never were really full ideas or weren't as good as they could be. They'd be enough for me to just sort of get my idea down and say, okay, that scratched the itch. Now I'll move on to something
But
else.
let's just linger on that for a second, because
The discipline piece?
yeah. And or just that was an interesting thought, that a hobby, there might be this thought that a hobby shouldn't feel like work or shouldn't feel like there are hard moments in it, which that doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah, well, especially if a hobby is something that involves a skill that can be developed. You know, you can be better or worse at music production.
Like you're going to be bumping up against obstacles within the hobby,
Yes.
and it takes work and effort to overcome it.
Yeah.
And when we're just inundated with so many simple pleasures, just TV, or video games or something that are
Those sort of passive, I don't have to be solving a ton of problems here. Yeah.
right. It's a quick gratification.
Yeah.
And it is way less work than honing a craft of music, even if you love it.
Yeah. And no matter what the craft is, you do end up bumping into those ceilings, which can be frustrating, where you can see something or hear something, you know how you want it to be, but you don't have the skills to make it happen. I read a great quote recently that talked about, I'm going to butcher it, but anyone who, if you're involved in a creative endeavor, you write, you paint, you do poetry, music, whatever, building, you probably first were drawn to that field because you have good taste. You recognize good art when you see it. You recognize good music when you hear it. And your pursuit or your journey in creativity is your attempt to get your skills to match your taste so that you can adequately convey your taste to other people. And it's this constant trying to capture the ideal that you have in your head and convey it. And you just never quite reach it. But it is gratifying to see improvement over time. But that takes discipline, because there's some days you'll put in hours into something and it still doesn't sound the way it's supposed to. It's just not.
There was this my equivalent in this would probably be writing.
Yeah.
And there was a really cool assignment in grad school that sounds really mundane and like busy work, but the professor would have us read this really classic piece of philosophy, let's say, and find your favorite page or page and a half, and then copy that down, like physically write it out into
Verbatim,
into a notebook. Yeah.
Right.
So, and particularly not the content really, but the language, the style of the writing and the sentence structure, and just to like muse over that while you just copy it. And I found that incredibly helpful.
Did you?
Just kind of sinking into my spirit, like, okay, this is what it was like to write like Nicholas Wolterstorff.
Yeah. No, that's huge. I have found I have to do the same thing with music too. Like, my creativity is correlated to my consumption of music as well. It's like the more I listen to, the more I recognize what is possible, just how big the play space is of the soundscape, and then you end up being more and more creative with your canvas. So going back to last year was when I felt that tug of, I have not been properly disciplined with this. Many people have, I hate to say this, many people have called it a gift. Oh, you've really gifted with music. And it just occurred to me, like, if that's true, I have not shown proper appreciation for that gift and cultivated it as much as I could. And I think for me, it was actually, I think I have some kind of an obligation here to develop myself as best I can. I don't want to squander this. So that means I'm going to get up every morning at 6:30, and after I feed the dogs, I'm going to put in 2 hours of music before work. I'm going to be writing, or at a minimum, I'm going to be doing something music related, organizing my file structure or whatever, the admin side of music.
Now, just to follow up on like in that space, have you ever done something similar to what I described with writing, where you're kind of doing some R&D? I'm sure.
Totally.
Like,
man.
I'm going to listen to this, who I know to be an artist that I think I have good taste and liking, and just and like listening to it and looking for oh, that's really good, I want to use that. And
totally. So I think part of that happens less intentionally, just that as you consume music, you are influenced by the things you listen to, and the kinds of sounds that you listen to often will kind of come out in your music, which is why most artists end up sounding like a mashup of their taste, the artists they admire. They're somehow pulling from all these different things and combining. But that sort of active listening, totally. I'll do a 30-minute session with headphones, right? Music is what I'm doing. I'm listening to music for these 30 minutes. I'm not multitasking. I'm not answering emails. I'm sitting. It's like a meditation. I'm listening closely, critically, like you said, to all the different elements and trying to learn, how did they do that? How did they get that sound? And it's amazing how much you miss when you're just sort of passively listening versus when you actively listen. The amount of care that goes into these productions, it's hours and hours.
Particularly in your genre. What do you call your genre?
I don't know. It's pop. I do pop.
And it's done on the computers.
With the machines.
And so you're doing you're adding little sounds in that may not be achievable in nature.
Yeah, synthetic sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Synthetic.
Well, synthesized, yeah.
Now, we've been using 2 words that I think are interesting. We won't go too far down the rabbit hole for listeners, but we were using the word taste, which implies something. And we also were using the word beauty. And taste, to me, I feel is like really obviously subjective in some ways. And beauty maybe is up in the air, but I think people would tend to think that some things are objectively beautiful. And I just want to explore that a moment and how you've wrestled with that in your music writing. So even you saying, don't go listen to the Rescueverse, your old project. I think part of the reason for that has to be that you think it's objectively worse. Like, it's not as good as what I make now. And why? Why is that?
Elements of it aren't as good.
Could someone genuinely have this taste for Rescueverse and not for Tony Robert Allen?
Apparently, they do. Because I think part of what I'm doing when I look back at the Rescueverse stuff is I'm comparing it to, I know what my taste has been all along, and I'm then comparing how well did I represent my taste here versus now. I could do it much better now than I could then. But like, those old songs still get comments, and there's somebody who loves that particular sound, even though I've outgrown it and I cringe when I listen to it. Somebody, that's their jam. That's their taste. Wow. They love that thing.
Yeah.
As far as beauty being objective,
I mean, don't feel like you need to give
I'm
a
not sure.
once for all answer. It's been talked about for millennia.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, that's an open question. Is beauty only in the eye of the beholder? What would it mean for beauty to exist other than as seen from a perspective? What are you saying when you say it's objectively beautiful? You're saying regardless of what anybody thinks about it, or anybody's taste, that thing just is beautiful.
Yes.
The whole world could be wrong about it. They could all say that is ugly, but it's actually beautiful in reality.
So I'm thinking here, and now this might be too far afield, but I am thinking, and maybe it's confusing some different categories, like moral categories, but a police officer laying down his life for the good of a civilian that he's protecting, or his partner is like got disarmed and is about to be shot by the bad guy and he dives in the way, or she. To me, like, not only is it good, like there's moral, ethical praise we could give, but I'm tempted to give it beauty as well. And it's objective. I'm just making claims without evidence right now, but I just find myself wanting to call it that's a beautiful
That's a
act.
beautiful thing that happened.
But maybe it's just mincing the categories and we should reserve it for something else.
No, I'm with you. That's what my instinct says
we'll
as
just
well.
even try to define a beauty.
Yeah.
Glory, attractiveness.
It's tough to say much more about it than that. What do you mean by beauty? You know it when you see it.
It has a wooing effect. It draws in.
Yeah,
it captivates.
It's that. It somehow grips.
Okay, I want to be clear about objective. I don't necessarily mean that there is a whole hierarchy and that there's only one thing at the top and you could just kind of go down the list of things that are less and less beautiful. There might be a myriad of things kind of at the top that are in the realm of beautiful. Here's what I was thinking. This is so nerdy.
Please.
But some of the artwork that was done for the original Lord of the Rings. I don't know if it's the original, but somewhere along the line, Alan Lee is one of the illustrators. And he was really intentional to make the dwarven architecture very angular. And like
it's a style.
The Mines of Moria, there's this really angular architecture all throughout. Yet when the Fellowship goes to the Elven regions, much more curved and flowing.
Yeah.
And I would say that although you might prefer one, have a taste for it, that they both would be objectively beautiful.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah.
In some way.
Even,
just totally kicking the can
in
there.
some way, yeah.
But we just describe beauty as like captivating or pulling in or gripping. But that can't be all that there is, because I'm thinking here of something that, well, again, I'm thinking here of like a desolate wasteland. Like think after a nuclear bomb goes off.
Yep.
And there's something about an image like that that does grip me.
Yep.
And captivate. Something significant has happened. But I don't want to call it beautiful. These dead, withered trees and a cracked ground. There's something that's not...
But see, someone could take a photo of it and you'd go, wow, what a great photo. That is a beautiful shot of a dead tree, of a nuclear blast zone. You could find the photo or the video beautiful. The situation isn't. The circumstance isn't.
So what makes that the case? What's the tie that binds then?
What makes it the case?
That both the lush, beautiful forest of the elves is beautiful and the rugged wasteland of...
Yeah, like, are they approximating any kind of ideal? Are they trying to... Are they shadows of some transcendent ideal version of beauty that we are sort of aiming at? I do think there's something weird going on, and not to get too woo, but it is weird, involving the way our minds work, mathematics, the golden rule, different ratios, rule of thirds.
Oh, yeah.
Things like that.
Say more about that.
Strange. You know about rule of thirds?
I don't think I do.
So it's a principle in graphic design or photography that if you break up your image into, what would that be, 9 squares? 2 lines here, 2 lines here? Yeah. The most aesthetically pleasing images, or the ones we are drawn to and are most interesting, are where your subjects or different features of the photos land at cross sections, like in the lower third or on the right-hand side of the third. It's a way to compose and balance your image, rather than just like subject in the center, click. It's like, put it off to the side and something else up in this third, and that'll be a way more compelling image.
And that's not culturally derived. That's a cross-cultural...
I think, well,
thing?
At this point, we sort of have a global culture, so who knows? But I do think so. Same thing with, I mean, music is mathematical. Our scales are mathematical. And there is some sort of a...
What do you mean? What does that mean? Why are they mathematical?
Maybe math is a way that music can be expressed. I don't know which came first, but like the relationship between these notes follow mathematical patterns. The scales, rhythm is mathematical. You're just dividing time. So there's all kinds of weird stuff like that. With
And that's significant for the conversation because math would be a paradigmatically objective thing.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If there is something that is sort of transcendent, eternal, permanent, that beauty springs from, there's something there about math also being eternal.
And you could craft. Now I'm going to betray my musical ignorance.
Please.
You could craft a discordant song, probably relatively easily.
More easily than a nice sounding one, yeah.
That kind of violates some of these math principles, and it would be that's kind of an explanation of why it sounds bad and not beautiful. Is that right? Or
Maybe.
when you violate those objective patterns,
Yeah.
then you get bad, ugly music.
Yeah, or we call that bad and ugly. We like when things fall into the ratios. We really like the ratios. For whatever reason. Who knows? Could be an evolutionary reason. I don't know. I'm no expert on that. But there is something weird and going on that I think leans towards objective. Yeah. That would explain why a photo of a blast zone could be beautiful. Well, it's still following rule of thirds and the lighting is good.
I struggled with the evolutionary explanation, not because I'm in principle against it, but just really trying to imagine that being that reproductively helpful to, like, I don't know, I'm programmed to enjoy the sound of a bird chirping because that means that a new morning has come and
I'm still alive.
Springtime and life is coming. Oh boy, that's giving me a reproductive advantage.
I don't know about that, but I do like to think about the origins of things like music. How did that evolve? I would imagine, this is the story I tell myself, probably the first musical act was percussive, I would think. Some kind of a tapping and recognizing, oh, there's rhythm here, and I can make that more complex and interesting.
You think, or is it kind of like the bird chirping? Like there were
just a monkey yodeling in a tree.
Well, just noticing the rhythmic pattern, not even you doing it, but just as you're out hunter gathering, the bird, the crow crows in a rhythmic way.
The music of the universe. Yeah, this is what I can't get past with music is. It seems like a miracle to me that we perceive it as music. My dogs don't. They don't have a sense of rhythm. They don't have a sense of music. They hear it like they would hear noise. And there's sort of a...
Man,
like,
that's so interesting.
It's intangible, but there is such a thing as a groove. There just is, and a vibe. And it can flow through you, and it makes you want to dance. And you can't pin it down, you can't point to it, but you can feel it, and you can feel when it's going through you. And that's weird. That's so strange that we would be that way. And at what point in the evolutionary chain did people start sitting in circles, playing drums and singing together and vibing? So strange that animals would at some point wake up to the point where they go, oh, there's music to be had here, there's dancing to be had. Let's do it.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Oh, man.
So weird.
That is like, and it's gratuitous in a way.
Yeah.
Like it's we don't need it to survive.
No.
I mean, sure, you could spin a little yarn about, well, it brings you together, so you're more likely your community will bond and you'll better be able to take down the mammoth and survive the winter.
Yeah, well, I don't want to undersell that as being a evolutionary advantage or pragmatic advantage, just because I think, and this goes back to what we talked about with Hero's Journey a little bit, but the power of story in a culture and in a community, and music's role in facilitating good storytelling. I don't know if you've ever seen, I think you probably have, the Star Wars without John Williams.
Oh, man.
On YouTube.
That is rough to watch.
It's so good. Star Wars without
It's
John
the scene
Williams.
in A New Hope at the very end of the movie when the heroes are being awarded for destroying the Death Star.
Yeah.
And they're marching down this big
cathedral
colonnade.
thing. Yeah. And it's just dead silence.
In the movie, it's triumphant music. It's such a glorious moment. And they're
it's like
all
the end of the film. It's like...
They're kind of smirking at each other like, yeah, we did it. But then this version someone put out that cut out the John Williams score is dead silent in this hall. And you're like, what?
It's just got the sound of them silently walking down. Someone coughs in the background.
Yeah.
No, what it does so
it's eerie,
funnily and cleverly is it highlights for you all the subtle emotional cues that music gives you. It's like a language that you are decoding as you're watching film and as you're watching TV. You are interpreting internal emotional states of the heroes on screen based on the frequencies and rhythms that you're hearing from the TV. It's so weird what you're actually doing there. But it happens on an unconscious level. Most of the time, we're not aware that there is a score, that there is music playing. I mean, I think about it sometimes because I do some scoring, but how often when you're watching a movie do you go, oh, this is a cool soundtrack? Pretty rare. Most times it's like, oh, action scene, and you're in the action. You're not thinking about, wow, how did they get those timpanis to sound like that? You're not aware that there are timpanis. Your heart's pounding along with them. And so, to tie it back to the pragmatic evolutionary thing, I think if storytelling served a pragmatic purpose of here's how to be the hero, and music helps tell that story
for that,
and bring it to life so that you don't just hear it, you don't just know it, you feel it on some level. You live that adventure on some level yourself, sort of vicariously. I think there's an argument to be made there.
Or even just to piggyback on that, when I've recently been enjoying the music of John Bellion.
Oh, he's great, yeah.
A genius in his own right.
Bloody brilliant.
And I found myself having like transcendent experiences with it. And I have with other artists as well, but where I can, before listening to it, I would have reported to you that I believed something about the world. Like, let's say, I love my children, or I love my wife, or whatever the case may be. And then when I listen to the track, it's as though I don't know how to describe it, but I
really want you to.
I lived out, I felt the belief, or I experienced the thought, rather than just held it, or like I endorse the idea that I love my wife. But then there's other ways I can experience loving my wife, but I did it through music, through this guy's song about his relationship with his wife, and just kind of feeling the love of my wife through the music.
Yeah, or feeling what the artist felt when they were writing, and how that relates to you. How much are you doing? I used to do a lot more of this, and I find people do listen to songs as though the song is speaking to them in some way. Like
going into it intentionally, I'm ready for this to speak to me.
I don't know, but and maybe it's the same thing that happens when you buy a Volkswagen and then you see Volkswagens everywhere. But I know there's plenty of folks who would say, God speaks to me through music. And what they mean is, when I listen to songs and I listen to the lyrics, I often have epiphanies about my own life and the way I need to change, or what I need to be grateful for, or how much I do, in fact, love my family, or whatever. And there's lots of people who would say, God spoke to me through that song, And I think
so.
that's
Like,
what they mean.
Here's an example. In the song I'm particularly thinking of, it's called "Conversations with My Wife," and I think it's the bridge. The lyric is, "They'll say that I fell off, and it's all right," referring to him like dropping out of music. His fans will think he fell off, and he's okay with that.
Yeah.
So at one level, I could describe to you the little nugget of the light bulb going off for me about learning the value and the formative spiritual journey of obscurity. And I could describe that to you with language
in a very dry way.
But then because it was put to music and the whole texture of the song, when he sang it, it
hits you different.
It hit
right?
me different.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to articulate it well.
It does something about
that went above and beyond the propositional content of that idea about, you should learn to just live in the midst of obscurity for a season and find contentment in it.
And he's doing clever things there where the way that he's structuring the dynamics of the song even cause it to hit you differently. Like, the rest of the song that section is coming out of a pretty loud, upbeat section, and then it all just drops away. And it's just like, they'll say that I fell off, but it's all right. And it's like, even the music is mirroring what he's saying in the lyrics, It's like, there's all this clamor. I'm famous. Everyone's looking at me.
Me on the conscious level.
But in the end, I'm alone. And what's it going to be like when I'm alone? That's the kind of thing that a good musician will do, is how they structure the song, the sounds they use, the dynamics they use will all support the story and help tell the story.
So that's better music? It's objectively better? Just to bring it back?
Objectively better. Yeah, I think so. I think if we mean anything by saying you can be better or worse at songwriting, yes, a better songwriter will do that.
Okay.
Kind of a thing, I would think.
Yeah.
So,
And maybe, oh, geez, this sounds maybe dumb, but, well, of course, this could be the case that a culture, let's say, or even across cultures, could invent a set of goals that they think good music should operate by, and then now we can objectively assess the catalog of music to that standard. But in terms of, if we mean by objective, totally mind independent, like the tree in your yard exists, whether or not any mind, if we all evaporated, right, all the minds went away, the tree would remain. I don't know if that's the case for beauty.
yeah, I don't.
Anyway, let's leave that to be a it's not resounding note in closure.
Yeah,
you know?
sure, that's fine. Well, if this is new to you, if beauty and creativity is not something you think about very often, you don't consider yourself a creative person, I wouldn't. I know we talk about Jordan Peterson all the time on this podcast. It's because we listen to him. But he has, in his book 12 Rules for Life, one of the rules, and I think it's a good one, some advice, is choose one room in your house and attempt to make it as beautiful as possible. And what he goes on to say,
does he mean that literally?
Yes.
Or like metaphorically for a compartment in my mind?
No, he means literally. Pick a place, a domain that you have control over, like a room, whether it's your bedroom, it's a living room, whatever, and try to beautify it. Try to make it more than just functional. Make it beautiful as well. And what you'll probably find is it's harder than you think to make something beautiful, because what do we know about interior design? It's like, that's a skill you got to learn, and there's better and worse. But you also then begin to establish this relationship with the transcendent, this relationship with beauty and with creativity. I don't, some people say they're just not creative people. I get it's something you can be higher in or lower in, but I am pretty convinced it's a big part of what it means to be human, is to create in some way.
Yeah, man.
Create families, create cultures, create houses, create art. I think that's kind of what we're here to do. So I would just encourage you, if you've discounted yourself and you say you're not creative, or if you've had a creative passion that's been
You are creating a story as you live.
you can't help it but create. Yeah, sure. If you have had a passion or a hobby or something that has been on the back burner, or that you haven't been disciplined with, like I for so long was not, I would challenge you and invite you to try it for a week, try it for a month of dedicating some time each day to your craft, and see if it isn't gratifying, because your skills will improve. It will be gratifying, but see if that doesn't reignite some of your enthusiasm too.
I also I think in that chapter, or just in his overall corpus, I like his strategy of, hey, if that's too big of a goal right now, let's bring it down, like zoom in on something manageable.
Yeah.
So maybe a room is too daunting. I mean, you did well with this room.
Thanks, man.
I'm thinking of, what about just my desk?
Yeah, clean up your desk.
Like, what if I had a really beautiful little desk setup? I don't know about the room behind me right now and the bedspread and the bookshelf, but what if I just made this little sanctuary as beautiful as possible and start there?
Oh, your car. Make
Oh,
your
man.
car a little more beautiful on the inside.
Yeah,
Get
is
rid
that
of them.
directly for...
No,
No, mine's not
to
very
me.
good.
Get rid of your McDonald's bags that have been sitting in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for picking my brain about this. Again, I really don't feel like any kind of an expert on this stuff, but I do think about it a lot. So
Yeah. Definitely not a topic that can be exhausted in one
no.
little 30-minute thing. But
Yeah.
well, thanks for watching another episode of Open to Truth. Really glad to have you guys join us on this journey. We just find it to be a real treat to be able to do this and for you guys to interact. If you have any questions or comments, please let us know down below in the comment section if you're on YouTube, or you can reach us at mailbag@opentotruth.com. And yeah, we'd love your support. Subscribe, share it with a friend.
If
That'd
you
be
make
huge.
art, I want to see it.
Oh, man.
Send it to us. If you made something beautiful, like your room or your desk or your car, snap us a picture and send it. I'd love that.
And you just came out with a new song. We might as well plug you.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
Thanks.
wrote a piece of music.
I did make a little
Expectations?
bit of music. Yeah, it's called Expectations.
By Tony Robert Allen is his handle.
There you go.
And also his name. So you can find him there. All right, we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Stay curious.
I'm not a hero.